When fitting the torch to the Advanced MIG500, what we're looking at is that we have our wire going down the centre there. Make sure that you have the correct liner to fit the wire size. In this case I have a red liner which is suitable for 0.9 to 1.2. We have our two contacts which come from our trigger and our gas feed. This matches up with where the wire goes down the liner, our two trigger points and our gas feed. So we all line all that up, we put it in, and then we tighten up the outside nut. Before we feed our wire through, we must take off the front end parts of the gun so there's no restriction for the wire to come in. We take the nozzle off, we take the diffuser off, and we take our tip out. Now when we feed the wire through, it can come through the gun without any restrictions, and we can put our front end parts back on again. Now we're going to talk about the controls on the wire feeder. The wire feeders controls the main power source. The ADVANCEMIG505S and the ADVANCEMIG350S have the same control panels on the wire feeder, so this video will cover both of them. We have a selection of controls on the panel. They're very simple to use. The first one here I'm going to point out first and foremost is manual, so you can set up the manual manually and set up the settings with the voltage on the left hand side and the wire feed on the right hand side. This machine also has a synergic programs built into it, and we're going to go through that at a later time in this video. So at this stage I'm going to put it back to manual. We have a 2T, which means that we can pull a trigger and let it go and the machine will go into stop mode. We can have 4T, we pull the trigger, we let the trigger go, and then when we pull it again the machine will stop. The next one down here is spot time. We can set it for a set length of time so we can do our tacks or our welds at exactly the same length. I'm going to put it back up into 2T. Now this little button down here is one of the most important buttons on the control panel. When it is lit up on the top, it means that we're using an air-cooled torch. When I push this button, it means that the machine has the water-cooled option, and it will only work when it's down here. Now please make sure that you have the right setting for this to work properly. So at this stage I have an air-cooled torch, so I'm going to put the air-cooled torch to the fan symbol. In the background here we have a few functions that we need to understand, and we get to these functions by pushing this function button. This up here says pre-gas, and that means the gas before it allows the wire to feed and before the trigger is activating the contactor. So it just gives it a time to have a little bit of gas before we pull the trigger. The next one is post-gas. This is how long the gas stays on after the weld is finished, and I normally like to have that at about a half a second just to protect the ball on the end of the wire. The next one is downslope. Downslope works when we finish the trigger and we let it go. It goes into downslope so we can fill up the crater at the end of our weld. I'm going to set that at 2. The next one after this is soft start. This controls the wire speed before the arc is activated and how fast the wire comes out. It just means that we can have a softer start or a harsher start depending on the wire and how the wire is performing. I normally start off at 3 and we can control it from there, but 3 is a good starting point. The last one I've got here is burn back. This controls how far the wire will burn back from the job to the tip when we've released the trigger. So we want a little bit of time in that, so again I'm going to set it at 3 and that'll just burn the wire away without sticking to the end of the tip. This last one is spool gun. These machines can come out and have a spool gun fitted, which is one way of doing aluminium, and other small spooled wires. At the moment the spool gun is off. If we want to turn it on, we do that. The little light comes up here telling us that the spool gun is on. So I'm going to turn it off. The ADVANCEMIG505S and the ADVANCEMIG350S, they have what we call a synergic mode. This does the work for you. To get it into synergic mode, I push this button and it highlights the S thing. It lights up the rest of this control panel. First of all, with this control panel, we can set the gas we're using. In this one case, it's an argon mix, or we can go to CO2. So we can go back and I'll set it at the argon mix. The next line here says what type of material we are going to weld. Fe stands for iron, which is steel. We can go to aluminium, stainless steel. We can scroll through the others. Silicon bronze and steel. Now we're going to go into the wire size. We select that by scrolling up and down to select the wire size. I've selected 0.9. Now instead of adjusting the wire speed, we now adjust amperage. So we can adjust the amperage up. The thicker material we need, the higher the amperage we want to select for our power source to deliver. Now if by any chance we need to fine tune this weld, we can do this by the left hand knob here, and that will control our voltage either to the minus side of what it sets or to the plus side of what is set on the screen. And then again we can adjust our current up and down to suit the material thickness. Both the Strata Advanced MIG505S and the Advanced MIG350S are very capable arc welders. To get into the arc welding mode, we push this one from the MIG mode through the DC TIG mode into the arc welding mode. There's two features behind that we need to preset so we get a good arc start. The first one is arc start, and it goes from 0 to 10. I happen to like this as 3. So that's a good starting point. The next one is arc force or dig, and that again goes from 0 to 10. I like to set it at 4. The next one we need to set is our amperage. Now that is determined by the type of rod we're going to use and the size of the rod. The rod I'm using is a 718 3.2, and I'm going to set that at 135. Now, one of the other most important things when you're arc welding is the polarity. This means is which one do we connect the handpiece and which one we connect the ear. I have checked the packet and it tells me that the handpiece needs to go into the positive side. So I come down, I check out, put my handpiece in the positive side and lock it in. I put my earth into the negative side, and that will connect to the job. I grab my electrode, holding it firmly, I unscrew the top, I put my electrode in and tighten it up, and we're ready to weld.